So hello everybody. Let me just make sure all my technology works. All right, I can hear something talking in my ear. This is cool, you know, coming out on the stage reminds me when I used to play in jazz rock band. It's like you come out and like, yeah, this is so nice. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about ARIA, but actually it's not music related ARIA. I do sing, but not that kind of music. I'm more like a bossa nova guy, so. Let me just actually go here. Okay. So Jenison told you a little bit about me. I started with Yahoo and moved on to PayPal. Now I work at Google. But I've done a lot of other cool stuff, you know, traveling around the world, teaching a bunch of international places. But without computer, I wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff. And that's why teaching about accessibility, talking about it to other developers and other people who are into design and who are thinking to change the world, I couldn't have thought of a better tool than accessibility to help you do that. And outside of doing my sort of developer job and being a manager and whatever else they throw at me, I love coffee, big espresso fan. I love guitar, as I already told you. And, you know, flowers is always good, right, to have on the side. But let's get to ARIA, back to ARIA. Many of you probably heard this term mentioned many times. It really stands for Advanced Rich Internet Applications. It's a spec that has, well, before it was a spec with W3C, it was a bunch of hackers got together and they're like, we got to fix this AJAX, because AJAX was like advancing. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We just thought we figured out the accessibility, you know, with HTML semantics and all that stuff, and now all these people are throwing, XHTTP requests at us, and pages refresh like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And that's where they came out with ARIA, and eventually this became a W3C spec. And we're going to talk about this, obviously, in more detail as we move on. But what does ARIA do? I'm going to spare you a few minutes and myself too, because we're so short on time. But ARIA basically allows us to take dynamic interfaces and magically turn them into accessible web pages and accessible interfaces. Who needs ARIA? First of all, I think you need ARIA, developers, because it's a tool that allows you to be better. It's a tool that allows you to make your work available to so many more people. And without this tool, life would have been much more complex, not impossible, but certainly not as fun as it is with ARIA. But more importantly, users of assistive technology, and you already have been, we're talking about accessibility here before, so I'm not going to do any overly introductions again. So assistive technology users are really the ones who are going to benefit from work. So you use ARIA as a tool to deliver accessibility for dynamic interfaces, and then users will take this. Obviously, they're not going to care or know that this is ARIA, but they're going to experience this accessible interfaces that you create with ARIA. So why do we need ARIA? I mentioned a little bit in the age of AJAX, there was really no other tool, and we had HTML 4.0 and then 4.1 transitional, but they really didn't help us deal with things like tab panels, with things like sliders, with things like carousels, with all sorts of stuff where designers would come in and say, you know what, I don't really like that standard drop-down. I'm going to design my own, right? And then assistive technology goes like, and what am I going to do with that stuff? There's no semantics, no keyboard access. And so this is where ARIA was really born. Just there was a need to do something about the situation. ARIA has this, where's the magic of ARIA? It allows you to take your dynamic interface and with a few custom attributes and a bit of work sprinkled around to turn them into accessible interfaces without changing your visual layout. And I think this is really important. This is why developers all over the world embraced ARIA, maybe too much, I think, because there's now concern that ARIA maybe is giving people a bit too easy of a kind of way out. So, but it is what it is. It helps in many situations, and let's grab it for what it is. So ARIA consists of roles and states. This is really what makes this specification powerful. And so briefly, they are roles and states. Those of you coming from the software developer environment or software background may think of roles as control types, so buttons, checkboxes, and all these kinds of things. These are your roles. We call them widget roles. So, think of dialogues, think of drop-down menus, think of tab panels, and so on and so forth. These are going to be your widget roles. There are also structural roles, and these are the custom attributes that allow you to enhance the structure of a document. Most of you are familiar with things like headings, things like, in HTML5 we have all sorts of things like article, aside, main, you name it. So with ARIA, we have that. Now, mind you, some of you may be asking the question, why do we need this with ARIA if we already have this with HTML5? Well, I just remind you, remember that ARIA was pre-HTML5, and therefore it was solving the problem that wasn't solved by HTML. And so that's why right now we actually do have a little bit of, it's not a collision really, it's just they work in parallel, hand in hand, helping each other out. But those are your structural roles. Some of the examples here, as I mentioned, buttons, checkboxes, tab panels. For structure, we have role of navigation, we have role of main, we have role of complementary. You will find a lot of those roles will, in many ways, complement what HTML5 already offers. And so if you stack a custom attribute of role on top of HTML5 tag, what's going to happen is that the role is going to take precedence as far as assistive technology is concerned. You're not going to screw up your code in that way. So this is great. When an HTML5 gets implemented by all the browsers, then your roles are going to live happily and satisfy the backward compatibility, while the forward compatible browsers and interface is going to take advantage of HTML5. So no battle lost there. So another big part of ARIA is the states. What are the states? Well, United States, no. What are the states? States are things like whether what's happening to your widget. Is it checked, unchecked, pressed? Let's have a look. Indicates the state of the control. For example, a checkbox or a button that it's pressed. If something is read-only, like a text field, that's your state. Is something disabled or invalid? Again, some of those things we have already in HTML5 and even HTML4, but ARIA helped us to provide the same interface. If, for example, you don't want visual change to your control, but you want this to be communicated to assistive technology, you may use ARIA to do that because it's not going to change the visual layer of your web page. Provide textual meaning for controls. This is another important thing that you get from ARIA states. And for example, let's go here. Labels. Oh boy, we all love labels, right? I mean, labels is like, if you don't have labels, it's like the worst thing you can do for accessibility. So ARIA has that too. ARIA labeled by and ARIA labeled are two important states we may want to use. And as I show here an example, ARIA labeled by allows you to label anything that has an ID, sort of like label for tag in HTML. The cool thing about ARIA labeled by is that it allows you to specify multiple IDs, so you could actually take a few of your text strings and label one control with them. For example, complex tables, you may want to mark up like that. ARIA label basically will accept a string. So this is if your control doesn't have an ID, your text doesn't have an ID, so you may want to take the text string and stick it right into the tag as one of the custom attributes. All right, the third important part of ARIA is the ARIA properties. Pretty simple here. It's basically the property of the state. True or false. For example, ARIA checked equals true or false. Couldn't be any simpler, right? For example, ARIA hidden can be true or false, and so on and so forth. So it's basically, what's the value of my state?
Value of a state, e.g. text for a label.
Oops, I didn't want that. How did that come out?
True or false for a toggle, e.g. check. Value of a state, e.g. text for a label.
Oh, that's interesting. You guys are not supposed to hear that, by the way. Hello, can you? Okay, cool. Works.
Value of a state.
Oh, let me take this out. Okay. Okay, so this is just a quick example for you of ARIA label, how it can be used, and basically, you're taking the ID of the element and use ARIA label with that ID, and boom, assistive technology is going to see that, and it says like, oh yeah, I know what the name of this control is, and I'm just going to read it. So what we're going to do next is we'll actually look at one of the, it's a hacky demo, but it's going to show you how simple it is with a few ARIA attributes to make something accessible. Okay, can I get this audio output right now, please? Now I actually need it. Let's see if it's going to work.
Run button.
Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'll slow this down because this is a bit too fast for you.
Volume 100%, pitch 50%, rate 70%, 30%.
Okay.
Rate.
Feels better, right? So we're going to take this little piece of fabulous, amazing JavaScript. Oh, sorry. No, actually not that amazing, but it doesn't matter. We're going to run this, and let's see what's going to happen here.
Preview page has one heading, one image.
So the screen reader told me this page, one heading and one image, and I'm just going to look at this page. You have one advantage that you can actually see what's on this page. I cannot see. So try to close your eyes and just imagine what it feels like. So let's...
$20 heading level 1. Thanks for your interest in our services. $20.00 of your donation is all we are asking for. If you are still interested to help us out, please click on the donate button below to proceed.
All right, here we go.
btn_donate cc_lg.gif image. btn_.
That's it. So we got an image. It has some gibberish on it, and so I was told that there is a donate button below. I don't see that button just yet, and so here comes our first
close tab.
Exposure to ARIA.
Edit text and leaving. Start moving window 0 inches right. 0. Stop moving. Run button. Edit text.
Okay, what I'm going to do first here, I'm going to give this image some kind of sensible.
Thanks for your interest. Less div greater. $20.00. Click /div greater. Click on the donate button below to press 20 less p greater less span it equals less div it equals less p less im src.
Okay, instead of using any kind of hacky stuff, I'm just going to use plain old text.
Alt equals space
donate. Let's click run again.
Run button. Preview page. $20 donate image.
All right, this is better.
Crisp.
And this is a donate image. Well, I was told there's supposed to be a button, so we're still not there just yet, right? So there's an image.
Close tab. Introduction.
So let's go back.
Edit text insertion.
What we're going to do then is we're going to tell the dummy browser that this is actually a button. So how are we going to do this?
Less h1 greater, $20 and click on the /div greater, less p greater, less span it, less p greater, it equals quote.
So I'm just going to put role equals
but space
button. Remember we talked about roles? This is your first, the most basic role you can have.
Run button.
So let's run again.
Preview page heading level 1. $20.00.
Okay, you heard that before. Let's go down.
Donate button.
Yay. Okay. Wait. Thanks. I appreciate, but you're quite impatient. We're just halfway there, okay? So it did say button. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to donate. I actually do want, I like those guys. So I'm going to donate them some, give them some money. So let me click on this button.
Don't press donate button.
Okay.
Donate button. $20 and zero. Donate.
I don't know, nothing happened, I think. I know something happened. You know something happened, right? Right? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we're gonna fix that too. So poor blind guy doesn't know there's a big problem there, right? I think they've been fished. How much money did they donate? Anyway, okay, let's go back.
Close tab. Edit text. Thanks. Click on the quote. Less p greater less span roll src less divot new line less divot equals quote payment dash note let d space I d d I.
I'm gonna here put
roll equals alert space
alert. Let's run.
Run button. Preview page has donate button.
Okay, let me click this button again, right? Let's see.
You successfully donated $1,240 to our organization. Thank you.
Oh my God. And there's no cancel button. Okay. Okay. So, yeah.
Close tab.
There's one more thing we can do, actually.
Edit text and run button.
So this is great if you're using a screen viewer. The problem with this button, let me run this again, actually.
Preview page has.
If I try to tab through this.
Leaving HTML, close, show all, but preview, leaving tool.
I'm actually never going to focus on the button. So I'm going to fix this.
Close tab. Edit text, less h1 less div greater. 20 less div greater less p greater less span roll equals quote space r tab index 0 space.
Okay, this one don't repeat after me. Okay, this is just a hack for today's presentation.
Run but preview page
run.
has
And
donate button.
yes, I was able to tap to the button. And now I can actually...
You successfully donated $1,200.
We heard that before. So, yeah. So that's your quick fix for the page.
Close tab.
Okay? So, yeah, with a few simple things like these, you can actually make your pages accessible. Now, of course, we have more complicated pages and so on and so forth, but it just gives you a feeling that it's not that scary if you know what you're doing. So just a quick summary of what we have just done. So we've used roll equals button to make image into a button. We've used alt text, which we should have used to begin with, to make the image speak something useful. Then we've used roll equals alert to pronounce a dynamic alert, which, by the way, expired. So the user would never have found it, actually, even if they tried to look for it. And we used tab index 0 to allow the user focus on a button. Awesome. So let's quickly talk about when you don't want to use ARIA. If you know that you can use native HTML tags, I strongly advise you not to use ARIA for several reasons. One being is that there's less work for you. That means you don't have to read, ARIA spec is a pretty big document. Those of you who have never seen it, you should definitely go and see. There's all kinds of stuff involved in making things work. And so if you can avoid that and you can use native HTML, do that by all means. You also get keyboard access for free because the browser is smart and it says, hey, you use the button tag, I'm going to give you keyboard access for free. So you don't have to use tab index 0 or what else. And so that's one good reason why you want to be doing that. When you don't want to be using the ARIA. Another reason is when you have a good framework that's already implemented ARIA for you, why would you use ARIA if they already done it, right? So do your research. Bootstrap did a good job. In fact, when I worked at PayPal, we released a PayPal Bootstrap accessibility plugin, but there's a lot of that stuff already went into the core, so it's all in Bootstrap. jQuery UI has a fabulous accessibility support, and so does jQuery Mobile. React.js has a pretty good accessibility support. There's even a lot of accessibility coming in Angular too. And so pretty much all major libraries have some kind of support. And so do your research before you go down the path of like coding ARIA yourself. People have done this already for you. When do you want to use ARIA? When interface gets too complicated and there's just no way around it. You just have to do it. The more common situation we find ourselves in is that somebody gave you some dirty code and you have no idea. It's so dirty that you're like, okay, I'm just going to spray a few, pepper in a few ARIA roles here and there, and we're going to make it work. So when you need to retrofit, it's okay. Feel free to use. That's why the tool is there. Here are some resources for you. I probably should have, if you can write down this URL. So this is the ARIA from Mozilla Developer Network. Really fabulous resource. Also, you'll see, okay. This is cool, I like this. This is a demonstration of jQuery UI components with already ARIA built in, all the fabulous sliders, tab panels, and all things like that. Someone has gone in actually, and it's all on GitHub, so you can download and play with it. So, so really, really awesome. And with that, I just want to send you home and start building your fabulous and accessible websites. Thank you.